What's up, everybody? It's Chris from General Manager Games here. We're looking at Pro Football 2024 of Draft Day Sports, the college franchise we just did about a few weeks back. Looked at some quick vids. This game's now on the website of gmgames.org if you're not familiar with us, and you can go get more detail. You can also get a discount, that kind of thing. But with that in mind, we're going to load up and look at some of the new features of this game. Now, there are some other first look videos out there from the company and from others, but this is just our version. We're just going to show some of the newest screens. If you want to learn more, I encourage you to try a demo of the game. You can get that off the website, and that'll give you a little bit more detail and screens and whatnot. So what I've done is I've done a career mode. If you use default rosters, you're going to get Bijan Robinson. You're going to get all the real players. And if you want to get the real logos here, you need to go and get Slybell's mod. That is going to be in the link within this YouTube video, but also where you can find it on the internet. So with that in mind, we picked a free agency beginning for Atlanta, and this is the first portion where we're at. You're looking at a team dashboard. Stats aren't populated, but you get to see what your schedule is like throughout the year, what week you have a bye, some of the main key indicators and data that you might want to see. And again, it looks like they moved the coaching information now back down to the bottom left, and we're looking at the team strategies and whatnot back up at the very top of that screen. So free agency, we're going to jump in. We're going to talk about some of the different changes that you're seeing now in this 24 version. And now also there's updates to this, but let's for now run current day. You can see what's happening there. You can look at the pool though. So there's a report. Let's see who's left. In terms of overall, you got Bostic left. There's certain bidders here. It's showing that information. You can get into the player cards. You can obviously learn more about them, from what college they're at, which teams are interested. But you can bid and do the latest transactions. But we're going to get through and show some of the other newest features in the game. But then what's good about free agency is there's going to be higher offers now on some of the players. I think that was some concern that was from the forums before. But we're going to update these rounds of free agency so we can show some of the other latest changes overall. So preseason week 1, there's signings and cuts going on. So we're going to advance now. We're into the training camps. You can see what stage you're always at in a turn-based game at the top left-hand corner. And our training camp results, you're seeing who's gaining, who's dipping. Kalai Campbell is just dropping off. But of course, Bijan's getting really hot. So as you can see, he's in the game. He's with the Falcons. And you can see his overall ratings seem to be there. They seem to be set pretty accurately to him. But what we have now is in our inbox a couple of emails. Let's take a look to see what happens when you start the game. You got your coaching staff giving you a bit more about what's happening. Some potential free agents, it looks like, within the team that might be happening on the season. So that's the mailbox. It looks a little cleaned up and more useful. You can delete all some of that. But anyways, let's keep it going and talk about some of the new features that you'll see. And we're going to get into a bit of the schedule so we can show what is happening now. We're in the preseason, so let's just get out of the preseason. We're going to sim these games quick, and we're going to get into our first regular season game with the Falcons. All right, so we're almost there. Now we're in week 1. So if we want to get back into taking a look at what's happening with our squad. You go to your office. And now we're going to get back into the depth charts. You can obviously set strategies. They've been expanded this year. There's new depth packages, new playbook features, give you more weapons at your disposal. But right now, you can see we're using a bit of a scrub QB. Haven't really said anything there. We got Bijan, still Cordarrelle Patterson. And we're going to start and play one of the games because one of the newest features is what it looks like to actually play the game in and out. Now, there are a couple settings you're going to notice now if you go under league options that one is this animated player setting when you're watching the game in 2D, which is new, and bubble circle, which is similar to the older one, and you can see the player numbers and see who they are on the field. So animated figure, I think, might need a little bit more work, but let's just save that one. And let's get into a game. We're just gonna play couple of plays on the field just to show what the new 2D look is like. And so with that in mind, the Falcons are playing the Texans. And look at this. So now it is a bit more of a slanted field. You're not getting just a flat feel. It is giving you a little bit more of a different dimension. And so with that in mind, we're going to start the game. I have to make a roster change. So with that in mind, there are some transactions that need to happen. So you go back to your office. If we don't want to do that, we're just going to let the CPU do that for us once we go to the roster screen. And it can be as simple as you doing it or getting the roster management auto adjust happening. We're all set now. That should do it. Positions are okay. We're going to come back and let's get that game and play a couple of the plays on the field and see what this is like and what's brand new in this one. This will definitely be going to the college game eventually. And so let's start. Houston won the toss. Not going well for us. Not on-siding at this time, but I guess this is the decision tree. Seeing the kickoff. That's all playing away. And it looks like the game's loading at this point. And making decisions on the other end. Okay, so the playbook's set up now, and we can call our first play. What do we want to do? I think what we need to do at the moment is maybe run a little Bijan. See what we got here. Let's look at this playbook. Let's pitch it to Bijan and call that play and see how it goes. So now you see this, look at these new guys. These are new animated players on the field. And so it's the beginning of their graphics right now that they're going to bring into the game at some point. Let's try to shotgun, maybe go deep. Just see what that looks like. And it looks like this screen is movable as I'm actually going through it. So it's scrolling from left to right. Let's call this play. Not much happening there. So, for example, that is the certain view now that's with those particular players. The Texans ended up winning that game on us there. But what you can do is if you come back and you set these bubbles, back to bubble circle, we'll save that. And the animated figures, I believe, now are moddable. That's been set in the game. On the note of moddable, before we just get to the next game that we'll look at, is you can take a look at the magazines, and apparently magazines now are adjustable for leagues and give you a different feel. You can change some of the looks. So there are a lot of different customizations and mods in that sense. But again, let's try one more thing, just to see what the other game looks like with circles. So if we want to watch and see the end of that game, you can come back at a later point and understand what's happening in the matchup. And as you can see, those are those first two plays that were going on with us. And again, you can get the bubble players, so you can still see who's happening, what positions are who, and what's happening there. It's not necessarily a key identifier that shows you which players they are, but this is a nice change. I mean, let's talk about what's different here. You get to see a little bit better TV style presentation. You're getting a bit more of the play-by-play at the bottom. It used to be somewhere at the top right-hand corner here. So there's a little bit better eye tracking on the screen. Besides, kind of just tilting the screen and taking a look, you have some cleanup of what's happening around these graphics now. So it is a bit more of a fun 2D experience to see what's going on. You got Kyle Pitts there getting a first down in this one, and as the highlights go through, you can go and track that down. So what we'll do as well, before we just show off a couple of other screens, is let's sim the regular season, see how fast you can actually go through a season in this one. So you can watch plays with your playbooks, with that kind of stuff that's in depth. But let's also just check some of the packages and depth charts. But I mean, there are some things missing, like the draft. There's not really a lot of trading happening at the draft, like the basketball game, for example. That's one of those things that just kind of don't bring that to life. But what other things are happening as well is that you can get a weekly playback of how things are going in the game itself. So it kind of immerses you into every week. You can kind of learn about the best players besides just at a glance. There's a bit more of a presentation mode for that. And we're almost wrapped up. We're in week 12 now of the season. There are some other changes that they're letting you know about. Again, playoff seeding has changed a bit. The game engine performance has changed a bit. I'm assuming that's stats, more realistic against the playbooks. You're able to customize draft rounds now. Now there's injury reserve weeks. You also have a wealth of things being adjustable that they're talking about. There's empty backfield formations, RPO options now out of the depth charts and that. So we're almost towards the end of the season now. And hopefully, let's see how the Falcons did. Did we have a good year? Did we win? Did we set the lineup up the right way? So you can do your GM adjusting. You don't have to always watch every game. You can just sim through seasons, do a lot of the GM mode, and just hope that you did some intelligent team management along the way. And last up, let's hope we get into the playoffs. Fingers crossed. So week 18, if we check the standings now, how good are those Falcons? We had a really terrible quarterback in there in our lineup. And at the end of the day, the Falcons finished one game. So keep in mind, you got to do some roster management. You got to give it some love if you're going to get anything out of this. But obviously, I kind of mucked that one up. So that's my fault. But again, let's take a look just at one other thing that you can see, this weekly presentation. Not much of a change though from a prior game, but I think it's interesting that they do this one. So if you want to see the weekly recap, that was preseason week 1. Let's get back to, let's say, what happened in week 18. Tell us the story of what happened the last week of the year. Now, in real life, people do rest players in this week. So in this one, you're looking at Bears and Packers, a tie, their first tie of the year. Interesting stat. Saints that just dominated our division. So you had Kamara, Derek Carr on its new team. So you can see the roster updates are there. So you can just get a sense of how things have gone throughout the week. So that's a nice touch, just to be able to every week play, soak it in, grab a beverage, take a look to see what happens, and help to immerse you within what are the big plays and highlights. I would recommend that they do weave in some highlights there so you can kind of get that Chris Berman 2-minute ESPN type summary of the week. It would be nice to just throw in the best highlight of the game to go with those stats. That's a personal thing there. So last thing we'll just take a look at again is what is different here about the depth charts. The ticker is new. You see that at the bottom, that's running the whole time. So as you're going through different weeks, you are getting some of the updates, so you're getting immersed in those scores. And that's a new touch in terms of the UI. So there's a lot more TV presentation kind of happening there. But you have different coach settings, head coach settings, offensive coordinator settings. You can definitely create, clear, change the packages. There's different ones for each set. So this has been revamped in this version of the game. So with that in mind, thank everyone for joining and taking a look at the new game. I recommend everybody going to go get the demo. And from the demo, you can then go and get a bit more of your impressions, how it plays on your game. If you're on a Mac, you can load a program with Windows like VMware Fusion Player or Parallels, and then on the Macintosh you can get this game going as well. So I use this on a Mac, but I want to thank everybody just for showing up. We didn't make the playoffs, not even close, but perhaps next time, or someone on the channel, you'll see someone much better than I am. All right, thanks everyone for coming along.